Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I bring you greetings from General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, the President of the Republic of Uganda. I have the honor to deliver this statement on behalf of the Group of 77 and China. Today, we live in a global scenario that has changed dramatically since the adoption of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and Progress. At the halfway point of the agenda is slow or fragile. The gap between developed and developing countries continues to widen, and major challenges generated by the current unfair international economic order for developing countries have reached their most acute expression in the current times. We are gathered here in the Summit of the Future to recommit our international cooperation in Pact for the Future that has been the result of long, complex, but constructive negotiations at different levels over the past 1 year. Our hope and conviction is that this pact should not become another futile exercise, but must garner political will and commitment across all levels of global leadership to pragmatically address current issues and lay a foundation for solutions for our future global progress and challenges. Therefore, the future we want should be free from any oppression and free from global inequalities and divides in levels of development, financing, technology, and innovation. It must deliberately offer opportunities, capacity to the majority of global south to catch up. Therefore, the global community should commit to the practical implementations of all the agreed actions in the Pact for the Future. The impacts of climate change, biodiversity loss, environmental degradation, and desertification unfairly burden developing countries and pose additional challenges to their pursuit of sustainable development and poverty eradication. We remain concerned about the growing gap between the needs of developing countries and the support available to face these challenges. In regard to that, we regret that the Pact falls short in recognizing the actions needed to close this gap, including developed countries, to fulfill their obligations to provide the means of implementation, including capacity building, technology transfer, and adequate, sufficient, predictable, quality, and additional financial resources for supporting developing countries to implement their nationally determined contributions, adapt to the growing impacts of climate change, and respond to the associated losses and damages. Nonetheless, in the pact we have adopted today, it contains concrete actions to prevent people from falling back into poverty, including establishing well-designed, sustainable, and efficient social protection systems for all that are responsible to SOX. We reaffirm our commitment to the Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action to accelerating our efforts to the empowerment of all women and girls in all domains. We have also agreed in the Global Digital Compact to initiate an annual global dialogue on artificial intelligence governance under the auspices of UN to initiate an inclusive process towards international data governance arrangements.
The multilateral system has proven inadequate in addressing crises such as climate change, inequality, and debt, and it continues to falter in providing any, let alone timely solutions. Without immediate action, humanity will face an unprecedented global crisis. Today, we have no choice but to reject outdated systems and reimagine a framework of international cooperation that works for all 8 million of us in the planet. This means redesigning international financial system strengthening partnership for common security, bridging the digital divide, and investing in human capacity, especially empowering women and youth. The window to achieve this is, however, fast closing. The Secretary General's 2024 SDG report paints a dire picture. Only 17% of SDG targets are on track, largely due to unmet financial commitments, and developing countries, particularly in Africa and the Global South, are facing severe funding shortages, and the gap is widening.
We must take the first decisive steps towards updating and reforming international cooperation and make it more networked, more fair, and more inclusive now. And today, thanks to your efforts, we have. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the Pact for the Future, the Global Digital Compact, and the Declaration on Future Generations open pathways to new possibilities and opportunities. On peace and security, they promise a breakthrough on reforms to make the Security Council more reflective of today's world, addressing the historic underrepresentation of Africa, Asia-Pacific, and Latin America. They lay the foundations for a more agile peace-building commission and for a fundamental review of peace operations to make them fit for the conditions they face. They represent the first agreed multilateral support for nuclear disarmament in more than a decade. They recognize the changing nature of conflict and commit to steps to prevent an arms race in outer space and to govern the use of lethal autonomous weapons. They include measures to mount an immediate and coordinated response to complex global shocks. On sustainable development, these agreements represent major progress towards groundbreaking reforms of the international financial architecture. They will help